Hello, boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits Podcast. It's time for another cocktail. This week's cocktail is the Cynndel Cyanide cocktail. And as always, is the featured cocktail in today's episode. We're going to start with our shaker with ice. To that, we're going to add vodka, 2 ounces. Recipe calls for black vodka. I don't have black vodka. But we're going to make it black later anyway, so I don't know. Oops. 2 ounces vodka. Next, blue curacao. 1 ounce. Next, blackberry liqueur. 1 ounce. Then, some fresh lemon juice from the plastic lemon. We're going to need 1 ounce lemon juice. Very lemony. Finally, our special ingredient, activated charcoal. It is very black. I am afraid to touch it. 1 teaspoon. I think if I got that on me, it may never come off. Then we shake. Then we're going to strain into our chilled martini glass. It looks very black, boys and girls. There you have it, Cynndel Cyanide cocktail. It's good, pretty good. I'm afraid it's going to stain my teeth though. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the podcast. See ya.
Some movies make you question your friendships, and that is especially the case in this week's episode of the Scary Spirits Podcast, The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane. It makes you wonder, how loyal are your friends? I mean, do you have someone who will help you bury the bodies? I get it, you can't actually admit that. But seriously, do you? If a 13-year-old girl can meet a guy and have him digging graves almost immediately, it might just be time for us to up our friendship game, don't you think? After all, grave digging alone seems like it might be pretty hard. Cheers!
Welcome to the Scary Spirits Podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm Greg.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen.
And welcome to the Scary Spirits Podcast, the podcast that combines the two very different but highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed. How are you, Karen?
I'm fabulous. How are you, Greg?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for asking.
That's what we do. You know, I'm going to let everybody know that when we first started doing this and we'd get online, we do them by Zoom. And Greg would say, "How's your day going? What's going on? Hey, how's everything going?" Today, it's just gone down to, "Are you ready?" "Yes, let's go." "Hi, everyone. I'm Greg." You used to ask me how he's doing, what's going on. Nope. Now it's just like, "Are you ready?" The honeymoon is over.
Well, we usually discuss things after, though, Karen. Besides, some radio gold might come in, that might have been ruined if we had talked about our days or anything that's happened to us in the last week.
It's okay. The magic's gone, Greg. It's okay.
Karen, I believe this film was your choice, was it? Was it not?
It was.
And what film have you chosen for us?
I chose the 1976 horror mystery, The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane.
Any reason you chose this film?
Well, if you listen to this on the day it comes out, yesterday was Jodie Foster's birthday, and she stars in this film.
How old is she now, Karen?
She'll be 62 when this comes out.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, happy birthday, Jodie. Or I'm sorry, Miss Foster.
Yes.
We're not like
I thought
that.
Maybe you were friends.
No, we're not. Right, we have a cocktail to go along with our film, Karen.
We do.
And what would that be?
It's called the Cynndel Cyanide cocktail.
Mm-hmm. How would we make that?
Well, it's interesting because this appears to be an AI cocktail. So I don't know if anyone's actually made it or AI just put it together. It does say that it's a dark, mysterious, and intriguing libation that will captivate your senses.
It scares me, Karen. How would we make that?
You're going to need 2 ounces. It says black vodka. I used regular. 1 ounce of blue curacao, 1 ounce of blackberry liqueur, 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice, and 1 teaspoon of activated charcoal for the color, ice cubes, and a lemon twist. I actually put the lemon twist in there. Fill a cocktail shaker with ice cubes. Add the vodka, blue curacao, blackberry liqueur, fresh lemon juice, and activated charcoal to the shaker. Shake vigorously for about 15 to 20 seconds to combine the ingredients. Strain the mixture into a chilled martini glass. Garnish with a lemon twist for an added touch of elegance.
Well,
Serve
that's you, Karen.
I know. I wasn't going to say it, but you're right. Serve immediately and enjoy responsibly. It says activated charcoal is used for the coloring purposes, and it's only safe to consume if it's food quality. So please get food quality. But I was reading the side of this.
Of your activated charcoal?
Of my activated charcoal.
Let me see it, Karen. Let me see it, Karen. Oh my gosh, I have the exact same blackness in a jar.
It's deep black. It's like
the
an
blackest
abyss.
black I've ever seen.
It's an abyss when you open it up, and it gets everywhere. But
I was very careful because I was scared.
You can use it as a dietary supplement. You're supposed to put half a teaspoon of activated charcoal with a glass of water and drink daily as needed.
Oh, I didn't. That's not on my label.
It's used for general body detox, digestive cleansing, food coloring, and teeth whitening.
Yes, mine says that. But nowhere on it did it say food grade. But I assumed, since it said it was vegan and used for food coloring, that it was digestible.
Well, it also says tasteless, so I assume that meant.
True.
But it's very black, and it doesn't add any flavor to the drink, but that is a black drink right there.
I know. Imagine if you had black vodka in there with it. It's a very deep aqua because of the blue curacao if you hold it up to a light. But
Well,
man,
yeah, and the purple
hmm
blackberry
indeed. Should we give our friends and listeners time to make their own, whatever it is, cyanide cocktail?
Cynndel Cyanide cocktail. Yes,
Yeah.
we should.
Hey, and you can get the activated charcoal next day on Amazon.
In case
So,
in case you forgot, is that what you're saying?
yeah, in case you don't have it just sitting in your house in your pantry, Karen.
Well, we do now.
Yes, we do. We got a big old jar of it, Karen.
We do. It's not expensive.
No, it isn't. All right, go make your own. Have fun. Hold on. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
All right, Karen, might you have a brief synopsis for us?
I do.
Go on. Tell us all the story about a little girl living down the road.
Quiet, withdrawn 13-year-old Bryn Jacobs lives peacefully in her home in a New England beach town. Whenever the prying landlady inquires after Ryn's father, she politely claims that he's in the city on business. But when the landlady's creepy and increasingly persistent son, Frank, won't leave Ryn alone, she teams up with kindly neighbor boy Mario to maintain the dark family secret that she's been keeping to herself.
Thank you, Karen. We are a match. That's a pretty good one. All right, Karen, tell me everything you really enjoyed or were pleasantly surprised by in this film from way, way back in 1976.
Well, the acting's very good. I mean, Martin Sheen is creepy. And I don't know if I've ever seen him in a role like that. Have you?
He's not that kind of creepy, but he's like Apocalypse Now. He's pretty
Well,
intense.
yeah, I've never seen that, but I've heard it. Yes. It's good. The sets are good. You believe it's a town. The acting's really good. It's a slow burn. I mean, it takes a long time to sort of get things going. There's just a lot of making sure we know that she lives alone and is very young. So she's only 13. That's pretty much it. I don't really have a lot to say about it. I mean, I did not like it, but I don't know. Like we talk about a lot. It's definitely considered horror. And she does some horrible things, but I don't know. What did you think?
I also thought the acting was very good. I wrote specifically Jodie is very good. And then I wrote Martin is very good at being creepy.
Yes, he is.
But the kid that plays Mario, he's very good too.
Yes, I agree.
It's very 1976, Karen. It's very of the time.
Meaning what? The clothes and
Clothes, the way they talked, the things they talked about, the music,
there is some groovy music in it.
just the look of the film itself, what they used to
True.
record
It's
it
very
with.
nostalgic looking.
Yeah. It makes me feel old, Karen.
One of the many things.
you know, it was kind of a slow burn, like you say, but I wasn't mad at it.
No, it's good. I didn't feel like
I checked the time about halfway. You know what I mean? And it would have been better. And I was kind of surprised. Actually, it was halfway, right? I was like, well, that's okay. All right. And it would have been better, if I didn't have 2 minutes of ads at the beginning and then another two. And I made a note in my notes how many seconds it is of ads in the middle, that's when after that, I checked the time to see, well, it's probably about midway. And it almost was.
Yeah, but it doesn't cost anything on Amazon, but there are
currently
ads
it's
in it.
included in Amazon with Amazon Prime.
Yes. But when you think about the whole circumstances of the story and everything, you realize that she's basically a psychopath, but she's a likable character.
I don't, well,
Mm,
I don't, she I believe she was well trained by her father, and maybe her father was,
Maybe, but
but he was really just concerned for his daughter, I'm sure. But he had some views on things, Karen, especially for 1976. But he's a single dad. I get it, Karen. I was there, not 1976, but you know, when you're a single dad, and I raised my son to be independent because he had to be. So I was
not
gonna,
this independent, but yes,
well,
I
yeah,
understand.
but that's
Well, I
it.
always laugh with my friends because I try to raise my kids independent, do their own thing, and then I get mad when they never call me. Like, well, but I raised them independent. They don't need to call
I
me.
know it's
So
true.
can't have it both ways.
Anything you didn't care for other than it was a slow burn, Karen?
I didn't mind that. And I want to say it's a very good film, I think. But the things that I have issues with are basically the story or how it progresses. She kills people very easily, doesn't really have remorse. She doesn't even really get upset when her hamster is killed. And then the neighbor boy, Mario, just meets her and 2 days later is burying dead bodies for her, one of which he
I don't
knows.
think it's 2 days later. They show the passage of time there, but go on.
It's not very long, and he's doing these things for her. And one of the people he knows, which I think would make it even odder to do something like that. I mean, he has no love for the woman. It's not like he doesn't like her. That we find that out early, but I don't know. It just seems a little unbelievable. 13 years old. That's very independent. She's not in school. Somebody would have done something about that. There's just too many things that you just have to look past for the story to unfold. And I mean, I liked it, but it's just like she just watches people die in front of her and eats biscuits, and then I mean, I don't want to sound like a prude, but a 13-year-old having sex seems a little young. I mean, I know it happens. I'm not saying it doesn't, and I guess maybe if you were on your own with no one to say, don't do that. But, she just falls into these very adult things. 13's like an eighth grader. I don't think I could have lived on my own as an eighth grader. I'll admit it right here. I would have had some issues.
I think I could have.
You could have, in a sense that you could have cooked and taken care of yourself, but
I was an only child, Karen, so
at some
both my
point,
parents worked, and you had brothers and sisters. So
yes, which means
you
I
didn't
had
have
to
a
take
lot of
care of.
alone time.
No, but I had to take care of them too.
Okay. Right.
Because
True.
they're younger than me.
Yeah.
But I'm saying when things like the water heater explodes or the roof is leaking or, things that adults take care of, signing up for school, I don't know. It's very 1976 in that way, I guess, a little bit more loosey goosey, but I don't know if I would ever feel comfortable burying bodies for people unless I've known them for a very long time. But maybe it's because they're kids. You
True.
don't think through a lot of things when I don't know how old he was supposed to be. You think he was 16?
He was older. Yeah, probably.
Something like that. You don't make the best choices then. You just kind of do what you feel is right in the moment without thinking down the line of consequences. Because those are big consequences if they get caught.
True.
But other than that, I mean, I've never heard of it before, picking it. And I'm glad I saw it. I mean, she killed her. I know she didn't know her mom, but she killed her mom.
I think that's what her dad told her to.
Yes. But that's pretty much blindly following. Anyway, is there anything you didn't like?
To me, it felt like an after-school special.
But better acting.
With better acting. Yeah.
And what's the message? There was always a message in the after school.
Was there though? I mean, there were some pretty
Yes.
mature ones.
Well, they were mature, but there was a lesson.
Okay. Well, I guess the lesson is kids are people too.
She was very smart and she learned a lot of things by going to the library because back then you couldn't Google anything. You had to
No,
go and look it up.
true.
So she probably had some interesting books on her library card history.
Yeah. And the thing about her not going to school today, I would say, well, she could be homeschooled. That'd be back in 1976. That wasn't kind of a thing that I remember.
Well, it probably wasn't as mainstream, but you could probably do it. You're
I'm
right.
sure.
He could have been teaching her, I guess.
Yeah.
And she certainly had knowledge.
As long as he signed things before he passed, like it sounded like he had everything planned out. And so he knew, well, maybe we'll get to it later. Yeah, we'll get to it later. I have questions though. I don't think it's a horror movie, but other than that,
But what would you call it?
I guess
She is
it's a,
killing people.
I know, I guess it's a
What is it? Not violent enough? I mean,
dramatic thriller, I guess. So, all right, anything else?
you can't just say it's a dramatic thriller when people are dying and being buried in the yard. That's horror, right?
I guess I'm trying to think of an example, but I can't. That's not horror.
I mean, it's definitely a thriller. But I'm not sure. We
It's
don't
not,
see a lot of it either. That's the thing,
and
really.
it's not scary. It's not a scary horror film. It's more of a
True, but as a female, I will say
dramatic.
the last half an hour or 20 minutes or so is
Yes,
very
yes,
scary.
yes. There are some scary parts in it, but that is true.
And I think as a 13-year-old, I might be afraid staying by myself in a big house like that. Kind of, it was isolated, but not, she definitely could get help and things. But anyway, did you like it overall?
Yeah, I wasn't mad at it. It was interesting. It's a thinker.
It's a little like The Changeling in that way.
Yeah.
It is much more of a thinker than an actual action. Tanya, you should check this one out.
Yeah. What kind of cocktail rating you want to give this film, Karen?
Well, I'd give it a 3.
I would as well.
I was worried you might want to give it a 4 because you wouldn't think it was a horror film.
No,
But
I can see it's horrific
but the
enough.
acting is really quite good. So
It's as
I
much
can't
of a
see
horror
giving it
film
4.
as Psycho is,
True.
you know? So it's more of a horror film than Plan 9 from Outer Space, Karen.
Oh, let it go.
All right, 3 cocktails. That means it took us 3 cocktails to get through it, boys and girls. All right, Karen, would you like to hear a review from the time?
Yeah, I'd be interested to know if it's some sort of cult film at this point, like has a cult following.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have a review from today. I have a review from the time, Karen.
I would love to hear that.
Okay. First, I have to tell you, this has a 93% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh, that's pretty high.
Yep. 7 out of 10 on IMDb. What do you think Google users think, Karen?
90%.
84. Karen, you're a
Mm,
little high, little
way
high.
too high.
The review I have is from the New York Times, and it's not that long. I'm going to read the whole thing. I've only read through it once, real quick, so bear with me. It's dated August 11th, 1977. So this review's a year later.
Yeah.
By Janet Maslin. Even though she's cast as a murderess, Jodie Foster comes her closest yet to playing a normal kid in The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, a mild-mannered horror movie for people who don't much enjoy being scared. Miss Foster's foul deeds, which prove to be not so foul after all, are committed either accidentally or off camera. The rest of the time, Miss Foster loafs around in blue jeans, plays with her hamster, and falls so desperately in love that when things go wrong, she can barely touch her dinner, which consists of a burger and a shake. The story, set in the obligatory New England hamlet, involves Martin Sheen as a vicious child molester who sees in Miss Foster the things that movie audiences have been seeing in her for the last few years. I don't know what that means, Karen, but anyway. And Alexa Smith as Mr. Sheen's wicked mother. Miss Smith plays the town real estate agent, and because she wears a Valentino wardrobe and drives a Bentley, it must be quite a town. In any case,
Miss Smith has rented a house to Miss Foster and her father, a very famous poet who hasn't been heard from since. Every time Miss Smith drops by to make trouble, Miss Foster announces that her father is out of town or says he is working in his study and can't be disturbed. Ha! That's what it says, Karen. Ha! Though Mr. Sheen does a chillingly effective turn as the psycho and Miss Smith an unduly nasty one as his mother, the film's real source of energy is Miss Foster's bout of puppy love with Scott Jacoby, who brings freshness and ingenuity to a humdrum role. The affair blossoms and then some. The pair begin sleeping together, and Miss Foster is called to murmur sweet nothings like, I never knew how much I needed you. Fortunately, there's more to it than that. They also share an easy camaraderie and a number of genial, even heartwarming moments. Nicholas Gessner's direction has a correspondingly comfortable feel, but this type of story is as old as the hills, no older, and Mr. Gassner doesn't do much to make it plausible. Film goers with short attention spans may find themselves wondering not where Miss Foster has been stashing all the adults in her life, but rather, why is she wearing a stiff and obvious looking wig?
It is bad.
I knew there was something not quite right, but I didn't realize it was a wig.
Not too far in my notes,
this.
I know it says, is she wearing a wig? And it looks worse in some shots than others. Sometimes it looks fine, but sometimes it looks bad.
The little girl who lives down the lane is rated PG because of a few bloody close-ups of a corpse and because of the terrible things Mr. Sheen does to a stuffed facsimile of Miss Foster's hamster. There you go. And I have another one from Variety, and they didn't like it either, which I thought was interesting for Variety, because usually they're kind of...
She did not like it. She just didn't think it was exceptional in any way.
Are you ready to get into it scene by scene, Karen?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, 1976, rated PG, for nudity, violence, smoking, foul language, sexual content.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
It's in the description.
We did watch it on Amazon, like we mentioned.
Yes.
And just before we start, Jodie Foster is obviously very well known, and I just wondered if this was one of her first films, but she actually started in 1972 in a film called Napoleon and Samantha. I think it was a Disney film, but 1972. So
yeah, I remember her in Disney stuff. Film starts and I have 6 ads adding up to 2 minutes and 8 seconds because they tell you that.
Starting off good.
Yeah, you got 1 of 8. And it says
starting
2.
off well. You know that you're mad when you got ads in the beginning.
And we have credits as we see Jodie Foster apparently on a beach. Then we see Jodie lighting candles on a birthday cake, and she tells herself happy birthday in the mirror.
She does have a chipped tooth.
She does.
She looks at herself in the mirror. She's wearing a Mrs. Roper outfit, I said.
There's a knock at the door. She quickly smokes a cigarette and asks who it is. And apparently it's Frank. He wishes her a happy birthday. Well, he says it's Halloween first.
He barges in, too.
He does, yeah. Yeah, he invites himself in.
Then he says, oh, it's your birthday. And then he talks about Halloween and how it's a big holiday here. And he keeps saying about 5 times, my 2 kids will be along any minute. My 2 kids will be along any minute. And I thought, is he lying? Why does he keep saying that?
He tells Jodie Foster that perhaps she should tell her father that he has company.
Apparently they're from England, and he says you don't celebrate Halloween over there. You need to give them some tricks or treats. So she ends up cutting up the cake and wrapping it up for the 2 kids.
Yeah, cuts the cake for the trick-or-treaters. And I think she cuts 2 pieces, so I think it's for Frank's kids?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Yeah.
Then Frank wants to know about her father, and I wrote, Frank is very creepy.
He's very creepy. He touches her when she hands him the cake for a little too long, and he comments on her beautiful hair and all kinds of...
And I know you said it's a slow burn, but when this started, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. We're just jumping right in here. First character we meet is a creepy pedophile.
Yeah, true. He does mention her hair a lot, asks if she has a boyfriend.
Then Jodie pulls out her pet hamster, Frank wants to know his name. And I read Frank comes on to Jodie.
So before we go further and before things get ugly, let's talk about hamsters.
Okay. I've had a couple of hamsters.
There are about 20 species of hamsters. They are nocturnal. They're promiscuous, in case you're wondering. They're banned in Hawaii. Their teeth never stop growing.
It's true.
And they do hoard food. And this kind of surprised me, but I guess I never really thought about it. But the typical hamster life expectancy is only 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
And and that's on the high end. There are some breeds that only last about a year. The Syrian hamster is the most popular pet hamster. And the first hamsters came from Syria. That's pretty much all I got.
Okay.
It says they can learn their name, but I don't know if I believe that.
Well, you never know. So then Frank's kids arrive and he gives them the cake and they leave. Then I assume it's the next day, and I wrote that we got Streets of San Francisco music as
it's groovy 70s music.
Jodie takes a walk.
Yeah, and Frank's waiting for her.
Yep, I wrote Frank and his station wagon tries to pick her up, but she avoids him. So then she goes to the bank and opens a safety deposit box that I guess she and her father share. And there's traveler's checks in there, and then she cashes them in for cash. Is that what she's doing here?
That's what it looks like. So I didn't know if traveler's checks were still around.
Oh, yes.
I do remember them, though.
Oh, yeah.
You used to have to get them.
I did, too. We used them we went to Florida for a marching band trip once, and they told us to take traveler's checks.
Traveler's checks are less common than they used to be, but they do still exist and are issued by a limited number of financial institutions. Traveler's checks offer a secure payment mechanism for international travel that can be replaced if lost or stolen, unlike cash. Mm-hmm. So they're still around.
Yeah, I would think so.
We used to get them, though, before, I guess, credit and debit cards and now Venmo and all that. Now we wouldn't have them, but they've been gone for quite a while in popularity.
And I guess the bank asked her to sign her name on a piece of paper to match up with the signature on the traveler's checks, and because they don't trust her, or like she's 13. But, she passes, and then before she leaves, she asks for the paper she signed, and then she rips it up.
Yeah, I don't know why.
An ashtray. Now, she's smart because she doesn't want anyone to see her signature.
Oh.
She was already trying to protect her identity. And then we see a woman drives up and she begins picking apples.
So this is a little too deep, but I did notice it. So she's driving a Bentley. It's green. She gets out of the car. Her whole outfit is green.
It is.
When she goes into the house, the
very
steps
Jackie O.
The steps are green. And I was like, green must mean something. I'm sure there's symbolism here, but maybe it just means money. I don't know. She's rich and she's picking crab apples, which... Why are crab apples? I didn't know you could eat crab apples, but you can.
Well,
and why are they called crab apples? They're very tart. I know that.
Yes.
Even desirable crab apples are sour. So this is why are they called crab apples? This sourness is presumably the root of their name, given that crabby connotes a difficult or grouchy person. Though another theory is that it's an altercation of Scots and Northern English scrab. The term crabapple dates from the early 15th century. So really, it's crabby people.
Yeah, we had a crabapple tree in our backyard growing up. I'm sure I've tried one of them.
Yeah, they're very tart.
And we see that Rin, who I call her from now on instead of Jodie Foster, Rin is learning a new language with a phonograph record, Karen. Woman enters. She makes herself right at home. Apparently,
she doesn't knock. She just walks in. Yeah.
And she starts rearranging the furniture.
Yes, telling her this is where this goes and this is where this goes.
She asked about her father. Rin tells her he is in New York. Woman questions her about her son, the woman's son, who was the one who apparently came over on Halloween. She tells Rin not to let her son in if he ever comes again when her father is not there.
Yes. So the mom knows the son is not a good person. And Rin is also learning Hebrew. And the landlady says something racist, like it would be better if you learned Italian with all the immigrants invading the town or whatever. So
then the woman and Rin share words. I don't know. They have a point
well, Rin's
counterpoint thing.
insisting it's her house. The landlady's saying, no, it's my house. We rented it to you. But if you're renting it, it is your house. But they go back and forth. And the woman thinks that Rin has a bad attitude because she's standing up to her.
And the woman tells Rin to have her father call her the moment he comes back. Oh, she also wants the bottles from the cellar.
Jelly jars. She wants to make jelly from the grapes and crab apples.
So she wants to go down to the cellar, but Rin says, no, I'll get them for you and you can come get them, basically. So then Rin collects the bottles for, and right here I wrote Mrs. Hallett, so I know her name now. Next, we see Rin on a bus reading Emily Dickinson, Karen.
Yes. So
I know we've talked about her before.
We'll briefly talk about her again. She was I don't know if we have talked about her. She was an American poet, little known during her life. She has since been regarded as one of the most important figures in American poetry. She was born in Amherst, Massachusetts, into a prominent family with strong ties to its community. Evidence suggests that Dickinson lived much of her life in isolation. Considered an eccentric by locals, she developed a penchant for white clothing and was known for her reluctance to meet guests or later in life even leave her bedroom. She never married, and most of her friendships were based totally upon correspondence. She sounds like she was a germaphobe.
Okay.
But yeah, she's reading that on the bus.
So then Rin goes to the town hall.
Oh. So yeah, you got to back up a little bit. So the landlady tells her that she's going to go, she's on the school board and she's going to report Bryn at the next meeting for not going to school. So Bryn goes to the town hall.
Yeah, because apparently like the meeting is coming up. It's just that week or something.
She said Monday or something.
Monday, yeah. So Rin goes to the town hall and says she's doing a report on government and asks when the school board meets. And basically she learns that Miss Hallett lied to her.
Yeah, because the woman in there says twice a month, every other Thursday or something.
So then we see Rin walking down the street, and Frank in a restaurant, he pops out and stops her and offers to give her a ride home. Then the police officer pulls up and Frank says, okay, all right, have fun, see ya. But Rin does tell Frank that, hey, I got the jars, tell your mother she's okay to come by any time.
And he says, I will. And she says, no, it's your mother. And then she gets in the police car.
Yeah, she says that all while the police car is sitting there. And the cop hears it all. So then the officer asked her if Frank was bothering her, and he gives her a ride home. And on the ride...
Because everybody apparently knows Frank is
yes.
a predator.
Yes.
But I guess they're probably the richest family in the town, so nobody can touch them or something.
And they talk about Mrs. Hallett. Officer Ron, his name, wants to talk to her father. They go in and Rin tells him her father is busy. Rin tells Officer Ron that Frank told her she's a pretty girl. Then Ron seems concerned. But I wrote, Rin is very smart. She buys 2 raffle tickets from Officer Ron.
Yes, for the Thanksgiving turkey.
And he seems concerned that maybe her father isn't there as he's leaving. He's not sure what's going on. So then after he leaves, we see Rin, and she goes into her father's office, I guess, and puts one of the raffle tickets on his desk. So then Mrs. Hallett arrives to pick up her jars. And again, she walks right in. And again, they share words. And then I wrote, she makes some anti-Semitic remarks here. Is that what she's doing?
Yeah, she's not a nice person.
And then she threatens to terminate their lease.
Yeah, they go back and forth a bit.
And then they have words about Frank. Miss Hallett slaps her.
Well, she's threatening. So Miss Hallett is threatening her, and she comes back with, well, you want me to tell on your son what he did? He came in, and she says the whole village knows about you and your son. And that's when she slaps her.
So then Mrs. Hallett goes to take the glass jars, but the seals aren't there, Karen.
Gotta have the seals.
That's right. And she insists on going to the cellar to get them. Rin tells her to get out of her house. Miss Hallett continues going to the cellar, And we see her disappear down into there, and then we hear her scream, but we don't even see
So
anything.
the cellar is the creepiest part of the whole house. It's right in, they have to move the rug that has the dining room on top of it to get to this hatch door that goes into the cellar. That's creepy enough to make me not want to stay in that house. Even as an adult, I wouldn't want to stay in the house.
But then she comes up from the cellar and knocks the supporting beam holding the door open, and it falls and hits her in the head, Karen.
Yeah, so Rin wasn't responsible for that one.
No, we don't even know what happens to her, but then Rin opens the door to the cellar and Miss Hallett appears to be dead, I wrote.
Yep.
She gone. And then we have some groovy bass guitar music, Karen. And Rin tries to get Mrs. Hallett's car. She tries to get into Mrs. Hallett's car, but the doors are locked. So then she comes back in the house, goes down in the cellar, and gets the keys.
Yes, we don't see it. We hear them jingle, though.
And I wrote, she's going to have to do something about that body pretty soon. That's what I wrote right here, because that's going to start smelling. But anyway, Rin, then she puts an umbrella in the cushions of the couch, which I didn't understand at all until much later.
Yeah, she should have just put the umbrella back in the car. I don't know why.
I didn't even know where it came from, but apparently I figured out later. Oh, it's Miss Hallett's umbrella.
And I think there was a coat, but nobody addresses that.
So she goes out and unlocks the car using gloves, Karen. Although she puts the key in her mouth.
I know, I said that.
But, DNA.
Well, it was 1976, so yeah.
And she tries to start the car, but it doesn't start. It just sounds like it's flooded or something. And then someone dressed as a magician riding a bike down the street, we see, Karen. And apparently he knocks on the window with his cane. And
of the car, yes.
Yeah, and we learn that he works as a magician. He tells Rin that.
Yeah, he's a young kid, maybe 16. This is Mario.
Yeah. But he knows the car is Mrs. Hallett's. And Rin tries to get him to drive it away, saying that her father expects it at the station or something.
He says his dad has the service station and they take care of the car. But he says he's late for his magic show, and she asks if he'll come back after, and he doesn't know. And she says that Mrs. Hallett is loaning the car to her dad, and he knows that's a complete lie because he says she wouldn't loan it to anybody.
Then I have words to read on the screen, Karen. It says, your movie continues uninterrupted after this break of 9 ads, equaling almost 2.5 minutes. All right. So I was fine because I had to take a bathroom break anyway, Karen. So
there you go. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
And I got right back just in time, so I can't even tell you what the ads were for. So there, Amazon Prime.
Suck it.
So Mario the magician, we see him calling his mother. We hear him tell her that the magic show is over, but he has been asked to stay at the party and he's going to have dinner. But he's lying. He's at Ren's house.
Yeah. I thought he was there, and then they zoom out and he's with her.
And then they have a candlelight dinner.
Yes, she made lamb chops.
And they talk about
she's turning down the lights, putting on some music. I'm like, this girl is 13 years old, but
yeah, as you do, Karen.
I didn't.
So then they talk about Mrs. Hallett's car. Mario does some magic tricks, and he continues questioning Rin about the car.
Yeah, he wants to know what's going on. He knows something's going on. He says, you don't trust anybody. Tell me.
Yeah, she tells Mario that her father is in New York again. Mario does some more magic. Then Rin introduces him to the hamster. Again, he has questions about the car.
And he says he'll tell her why he limps if she'll tell him about the car. And then he says he didn't get a polio shot because his parents had so many kids that they didn't remember who had the shots and who didn't. I thought that was kind of sad. But she tries to give him peach ice cream as a distraction, but he's not deterred. Now they're playing hide and seek.
Yeah, he does a magic trick he said will make him disappear. He has Rin hide her eyes. Then she goes to look for him. But apparently Mario has found the umbrella in the couch. Rin wants it back. And
she overreacts to him finding it, so he knows something's wrong.
Yeah, they struggle. but it's really like a fun kind of wrestling kind of thing.
Yes.
Then a car arrives and Mario says it's a police car. Turns out it's Mario's Uncle Ron, Officer Ron. You didn't say this has a small cast earlier, Karen, when you
It's true.
talked about what you like.
And there probably is sequel potential.
Officer Ron comes in. Rin offers him wine. Mario lies and says that he met Rin's father earlier.
Yeah, very easily.
Yep. Officer Ron tells them that Frank has called a couple times saying his mother is missing. And he says that Frank said his mother was coming to the house to pick up the glass jars. Rin shows him the glass jars are still there and she never showed to pick them up. That's what she says. Officer Ron tells Rin to have Mrs. Hallett call the station if she arrives. He leaves.
He also tells them that Frank got into trouble before, and then his mom just married him off to a waitress with 2 kids. So we get a little backstory about why Frank is married with the 2 boys.
So then Rin and Mario, they play fight. And then there's a knock at the door, I think. They think it's Officer Ron.
Right.
Mario hides and Frank comes in.
It's Frank, yeah, and he comes in, barges in again. She tries to close the door, but he barges in.
And then he sees Mario eventually hiding behind a little wall there. And then Frank takes one of Rin's father's cigarettes sitting on the mantle and has Mario light it. He does notice that it's as many cigarettes there as there were before when he was there on Halloween. So then Ron takes the hamster out of its cage.
Well, he's taunting them a little. He says, I see that you're having a dinner. There's only 2 plates. It's candlelight. I thought you said you didn't have a boyfriend because she said she didn't on Halloween, which she didn't. And he wants to know about her father, right? That's what. And so when she won't answer him, he takes out the hamster.
Then he takes a cigarette and burns the hamster. Mario goes at him, but Frank pushes him away. And then Frank puts his cigarette out on the hamster and throws it into the fireplace.
That's not funny. I thought that was horrible.
Not, it was horrible, but
it almost looked like he was burning the hamster's eyes with the cigarette.
Frank questions them about Ren's father and about their relationship, like you said, or thought you didn't have a boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. Frank wants to know what happened that day, because I guess he thinks his mom came there. Mario goes to call the police, and Frank trips him and calls him a gimp. And Frank tells Mario to leave. It's kind of forcing him out, and he's like taunting him with his cane, with Mario's cane. But Mario grabs the handle of the cane from Frank and pulls out a sword.
It's a long knife, yes.
And he puts it right up to Frank's throat. And he forces Frank to leave. Good day. Mario tells Rin to call the police. She refuses. Mario finds Mrs. Hallett's umbrella in the wood case. And Rin admits that it is Mrs. Hallett's. So then she pulls the drapes and opens the cellar to groovy music.
He's like, fine, I'll show you everything.
Mario goes to the cellar, but we never see what's down there.
No, we don't.
Cut to them in like the kitchen or something, and Mario seems freaked out.
Only a little, though.
And he asks, how long has it been for your mother?
Yes.
And I'm like, huh? I had to rewind it and say, did he say mother? And she says October 17th. And he asks about the decomposition of bodies. This sounds like something I would text you asking you, Karen. But Rin tells him that you can put stuff on them. You never told me that, Karen. You never told me I could put stuff on bodies.
I don't know what stuff she's talking about, and I wasn't about to look that up.
Okay. So then, well, apparently you told us last week the stuff we can use to make them disappear.
Yes, but not what can make them stop decompose. I would imagine salt. It'd be like curing, right?
Ah, okay.
Would be my guess. But she said she learned at the library how to do it.
So then Rin, yeah, she'd have to go to the library and look that up. So then Rin tells Mario about her father. He was sick when they moved there. He paid the lease for 3 years. Apparently he knew he wasn't going to make it, and he was preparing her to carry on without him. So father warned her about
how people would try to tell her what to do all the times, and they worked it out all the details so she could remain independent after he was gone. And she even shows Mario a letter that her father wrote. And
Yeah,
apparently
and
we
she
learned that
said,
he walked into the tide and never came back.
yes, he walked into the water. Her mom left when she was 3, and he didn't want the mother to come back and take her at any point. They were kind of hiding from the mother. That's why they left England. But he had no love for the mother and gave her opportunity to protect herself from the mom.
So the question I have is, why did he choose 3 years so that she
I
would be
don't
16 when the lease was up?
I don't know, because that's not really an adult, is it?
No, but I mean, I had a friend in high school who was an emancipated minor. So I'm wondering if you have to be 16 to be ruled an emancipated minor,
I don't know.
which means you can take care of yourself. Okay.
But I it was awfully deliberate, so there must have been a reason that they chose the 16.
Yeah, I think so. Because apparently he could have leased it for 10 years, maybe. Who knows? Who the hell knows? 5 at least. If they were going to give him a 3 year, why wouldn't they give him a 5?
And the rent was paid.
Yes.
So I'm sure they would have been happy to give him, you know.
You pay for it all up front. All right. That was just a question I had. So then Rin tells Mario she pays for everything with traveler checks. She keeps them in a safe deposit box. And she talks about her mother. The publisher told her mother that her father died, and she arrived one day. And she tells Mario that she gave her mother tea with some white powder in it that her father gave her. Here, your mother really likes this in her tea. If she ever arrives, put it in it and give it to
Oh, I
her.
thought she knew what it was.
She did. I'm just
Oh, okay.
being stupid. And apparently it's cyanide. And then Mario begins to worry that he's been poisoned.
Yeah, because they're drinking tea. And she says that her mother said, oh, it tastes like almonds. But she said it must be the cookies. And he's eating the same cookies that they were eating.
Yes, I've heard that cyanide tastes like almond. So then Mario tells Rin they should not call each other because their phones might be tapped, Karen.
Yeah, well, he's very relieved that his tea isn't poison because he says, why aren't you drinking your tea? And she says, it's still too hot. I didn't add milk or something. And he's been drinking the tea and eating the cookies. So he's freaking out. It's kind of funny.
And then Rin puts on some classical music. Then we have a montage, Karen, of Rin and Mario going about their lives. We see Frank with the locksmith at his mother's car, so on and so forth. And then we see Mario and Rin down by the shore, apparently debating the value of going to school. And then they throw the keys to Mrs. Hallett's car into the water. Then we get some more Streets of San Francisco music. And in case you don't know, boys and girls, that was a crime drama that was on back in the 70s. Mario digs a hole in the backyard of the house.
It's right next to the house.
Wearing his platform shoes, I wrote.
Yes, I said they're both wearing their groovy 70s shoes. But it's pouring rain.
Yeah, it begins raining, but they dig a deep hole.
They do.
They go to the cellar. Next, we see them finishing filling up the hole. So we never see anything. And they kind of rake leaves on top of the dirt.
Yeah, and it's the middle of the afternoon. They're not doing it at night or anything. It's like the clock says 4:00.
And Mario begins coughing. So Rin gives him a bath.
Yeah, he's freezing, apparently.
A hot bath. Phone rings.
I said, he seems sick.
Phone rings. Rin goes down to answer it, but there apparently is no one on the other end, and Rin assumes it is Frank. Rin makes a fire. Mario comes down wearing some of her father's pajamas. Rin gets under the covers with Mario on the couch. Then we cut to Mario leaving. Reed telling...
She doesn't want him to leave, though. She keeps trying to get him to stay, but he has to go.
Yeah, and Mario says he can't tell his parents about their relationship because they will want to know too much about her.
Damn, parents want to know everything about her. Want to know who their kid's hanging out with.
All right. Rin wants him to come back after dinner. He says he'll try and rides his bicycle off into the rain.
And you do feel like he's having second thoughts, maybe, after the whole afternoon activities. But I think it's because he's getting sick, but he seems a little melancholy, not very happy.
Then Officer Ron arrives again. He doesn't believe Rin about her father, doesn't believe he's upstairs. Then Rin tells him about how, lots of poets are drug addicts, and she implies that
Yes.
her father may use at points, and when he does, he locks the door, and she knows he doesn't want her to see him. But then an old man comes downstairs smoking a pipe, Karen. He even signs a book of poems for Officer Ron, and then goes back upstairs. After Officer Ron leaves, Rin goes up, and we learn that Mario is wearing a mask and impersonating her father.
He does say when he puts on the pajamas, they're a pretty good fit. So
Yes.
we kind of get a tiny bit of foreshadowing that he would be about the same size as her father.
His face looked good, but they didn't match his hands, Karen, when he was
No.
signing the book and things.
Yeah, your
So,
hands. And that's his
apparently
nephew.
Officer Ron is not a detective.
No. Well, he did have a hot date in the car waiting for him.
That is true.
So
then they undress and get in bed together. And Rin doesn't want Mario to ever leave.
young love.
Then all of a sudden it's wintertime, snow. Officer Ron arrives again and tells Rin that Mario is in the hospital and he has pneumonia. We do see at one point Rin like staring at the phone like she hasn't heard from Mario in a while. So then Officer Ron tells Rin that he was delirious and talking about how much he loves her.
Yeah, she's a little concerned he's delirious and talking.
Yes.
But she does care for him.
So they go to the hospital. Rin tells Mario she loves him. She says her father had it all worked out, but he was wrong. She needs him.
I love how when they're in the hospital and they pull the curtain and act like no, because there are other people there.
Mm-hmm.
And she pulls the curtain and people act like you can't hear because the curtain's pulled. I mean, 100% you can hear. But she didn't say anything necessarily bad, but she does admit that her dad kind of you could extrapolate that her dad's not around.
So then we see her at a restaurant, and this is when she has her burger and shake, but she doesn't need it.
It's the saddest looking burger I've ever seen.
What's 1976, Karen? Then we see her on a bus. She goes home. She turns out the lights, but we see the table is pushed away from the cellar door. It opens and shuts, and then Rin goes down to investigate.
Yeah, she goes to bed, and then she hears a noise, and
the door opens, and it appears to be Mario, but it's not. It's Frank in his magician costume. And Frank says he found a hairpin in the cellar, and he thinks that it's his mother's. Also a red fingernail. And he thinks that he's got it all figured out. He's going to go to the police unless they become bestest of friends.
yes.
Rin goes to make some tea for Frank.
He does ask for tea. He says he's so fancy in his outfit.
He asked for it.
He asked for tea.
The phone rings. Rin answers. Apparently, it's Officer Ron. Apparently, she won the raffle for the turkey, but she tells him not to bring it over just then. So that makes Frank happy. Rin makes the tea as Frank makes a fire. And Rin puts some white powder in one of the teacups, Karen.
So do you think she's doing the old, I don't think you've seen The Princess Bride, right?
I have.
So do you think she's doing
several
the thing
times
with the cups?
Yes.
If I was a smart man, or
yes.
I didn't know if she was doing that or if she was trying to kill herself because she knew she wasn't going to get out of this.
No, she's smart.
Yeah, but
because Frank thinks he knows everything, and if he knows everything, then he should be suspicious.
True, because he knows she's smart.
Yeah. So then Rin pours the tea, but they talk about Mario, and Frank says, "Oh, he'll die."
She did put powder in one of the cups.
That's what I wrote. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know if you said it.
One of the teacups.
Yeah. Okay.
Frank thinks Mario will die, and Rin asks about Frank's wife. What are you going to tell your wife?
He's like, "Oh, you let me handle that."
And apparently we learned they both take their tea the same way, with milk and one lump of sugar.
Because she says sugar and he says one. He says, "I'll expect you to remember that."
Yeah. At one point, she offers him Darjeeling and Earl Grey. And
I think
I
that's to the mother, but
yeah, but
whatever.
she has
Yeah.
2 tins of Twinnings or Twinings. I don't know how to say it, but it's from England. And I used to drink it all the time. That's what I
Earl
used to
Grey.
order. I liked Lady Grey, but I would buy Earl Grey sometime. And it always came in the yellow box, which she has the yellow tin. And the Darjeeling was green, and she has the green tin. So,
Is the Lady Grey less strong?
yes, got more of some, I don't know the name, flavor, Burgeot or something like that. I don't know what it is. But anyway, I like it better. Yes, it's less as strong, I guess. So anyway, Frank is suspicious.
They're eating the almond cookies.
Yes, but he wonders why she hasn't had any of her tea. And she says, "Well, you're the guest. You need to go first." And then at one point, I think she says, "I didn't put enough milk in my tea or
No, he
something."
says you put more milk in your
Oh,
tea. So she goes to add more milk to his tea, but he says, no, I'll just take yours. It's
yes.
perfect.
Yeah. So and then Frank forces her to drink first from the other cup that he was going
After
to
he
drink.
switched, yeah, after he switched the cups.
And she does. So then Frank talks about why he made them switch cups. He coughs and then takes another drink. And he
Says it
says,
tastes like
it
almonds.
tastes like almonds. And Rin says, that must be the almond cookies. Then Frank coughs some more, and we don't see him anymore, but we see his hand stroking her hair.
Even though he's wheezing and coughing, he's still stroking her hair.
And then he coughs some more, and then it goes very silent. and this whole time, we're just seeing Rin staring at
Chewing
where
the
he would
cookies.
be.
So I know we've talked about cyanide poisoning before.
Credits the end.
That's not how it usually goes.
You said there were drinks that had cyanide in it.
Small amounts, yeah. When I was looking up a drink for this, but I
Yeah.
didn't
Well,
think
she
you'd be
didn't put a whole
comfortable.
lot in his tea.
Well, it's a powder, so who knows, right? But it usually results first you get a headache, dizziness, and a fast heart rate, shortness of breath, and vomiting. And then you get seizures, slow heart rate, low blood pressure, loss of consciousness, and cardiac arrest. So the way they portrayed it is just kind of almost like seizing of your lungs or something. But yeah, it's a new fad where you can get cyanide in your drinks. Antifreeze. I don't know if it was a joke or what, but I was like, well, I'm not using any of those. So
No, no, thank you. All right. What'd you think of the cyanide cocktail, Karen?
it's pretty good. It's gritty though.
Yeah, when you get to the bottom, it is gritty.
It's gritty.
Mine is evaporated.
I'm not sure if there's a way that you can. I don't think you
You
can
have to drink
change
it
that.
quick.
Yeah,
It was a little gritty in the beginning as I was drinking. I could tell there was like powder
there's
stuff in it,
something in it. Yeah,
but it's really gritty at the end.
I had a lot of lemon juice in mine. I didn't measure the lemon juice. I just squeezed it in. So mine's very lemony, but it's good. It as well, it's vodka and blackberry with a little
Yeah, I think
lemon.
it's
I
good
mean, it's
too.
not.
I was concerned there might be too much lemon. I don't know, with squeezing the ounce of lemon in it. Like, that might be a little too much, but no, it's pretty good.
I like it. It's very interesting drink. It's a little gritty though. If you have
Yeah,
texture issues, you're going to have a problem with it.
either that or do it as a shot.
It
All
doesn't
right.
have a taste. I mean, I don't.
No, I don't think it does either. Like I said, I get the blueberry and the lemon.
The raspberry, you mean?
No, it's blueberry.
I thought it was raspberry. You don't have blueberry liqueur, do you?
Read read the ingredients.
Blackberry liqueur.
Blackberry. Okay, blackberry. You said raspberry.
Oh, okay. Well,
No,
then
it's
we're both drunk.
blackberry.
What are we gonna? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's not raspberry. It's not blueberry. It is blackberry. All right. Anything we learned today, Karen?
We learned about cyanide poisoning. We learned about hamsters, crab apples, Emily Dickinson. A little bit about Jodie Foster. I think that's it. Is that all you have?
Talked about traveler's checks in there.
Oh, traveler's checks also. Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to move on to the next film?
Yeah. What do you got,
Karen?
Greg?
The film I have chosen is from 1935.
Whoa. Is it silent?
No.
Okay.
So, you know, it's not a Hammer film.
No.
It is a film called The Raven,
Oh,
starring Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi.
nice. Why did you pick that?
Because, Karen, when The Raven comes out next week, it will have been right after Boris Karloff's birthday, which is this coming Saturday.
Awesome. Do you have a drink to go with it?
I do, Karen.
And what's that?
It's called The Tiny Dancer.
Okay. You've obviously researched the film a little bit.
A little. So we're going to need 1.5 ounces of bourbon, a half ounce of Campari,
Ooh.
1 ounce blood orange juice.
Juice?
That's what it says. But I think I have blood orange liqueur or something. So I'll use that. Half a teaspoon of honey, 2 ounces of club soda, a squeeze of lemon, and an orange peel for garnish if you
Wow,
want to be all
that's
fancy.
complicated. Yeah.
Not really. We're going to add the bourbon, Campari, blood orange juice, and honey to a cup or to a cocktail shaker. And then we stir to combine.
Oh, you don't shake?
Nope. Then we're going to transfer the mixture to a rocks glass with a large cube of ice in it, Karen. You know, one of those
Ooh.
big whiskey ice cubes,
Yeah.
which I won't have. But
I don't.
so then we're going to top with club soda, add a squeeze of fresh lemon juice, and garnish with an orange peel. The Tiny Dancer, like an Elton John song. So there you go.
Okay.
Anyone you need to thank this week, Karen?
Well, just our listeners. There's a lot of podcasts out there. Thank you for spending time with us. What about you, Greg? Who do you need to thank?
Karen, I'm going to thank the band Verse 13 for providing all of the music in the Scary Spirits podcast.
The music definitely makes the podcast better.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Hey, it's Karen, and I'm here to talk to you about getting social with us. Did you know you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast? Or check out our website, scaryspirits.com. If you have something to say, email us at info@scaryspirits.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening. Please drink responsibly.